Coming to you live from the Elliott Avenue Studios, this is The Barbershop, powered by Snoqualmie Casino, Seattle's closest casino, and by Talking Rain. With Marcus Trufant, here's T. Holla.
Hey, what's up, Seattle? Welcome to The Barbershop. This is Terry Holloman, a.k.a. T. Holla.
And yes, this is Marcus Trufant, a.k.a. True.
True, you gave him the true this week, man.
Yeah, change up this week. Change up.
I love it. Again, welcome to The Barbershop. We're going to be here holding it down at KJR Sports Radio 950. For the next 2 hours, you're going to be joining us here in the shop, having a little fun, talking a little sports, talking a little current events, talking about the stuff that's going on in the news right now today that's going to excite you. Again, this is The Barbershop, so it's not going to be your conventional sports radio talk show. We're kind of unorthodox, kind of outside of the box. We're going to cover all kind of topics, not just sports, but a lot of stuff that needs to be spoken about. Right, True?
Absolutely. A little bit of everything. That's what we call it. So what I'm going to do, T, I'm going to break it down for them. For those who don't know exactly what we're about, kind of what we bring to the table. And, you know, a lot of people still hit us up on social media. Where can I find your barbershop? Do you guys do fades, tapers, and S-curls and all that kind of stuff? We don't do all that. So I'm going to let them know what we do. Our show is called The Barbershop, and that is everything that you get in a real barbershop except for a haircut.
A haircut, that's right.
All the going zones, all of the conversations that sometimes they turn into casual debates, all the characters that come in. You got people that come in on a weekly basis to get their haircut. So, of course, we'll have some people that will be checking in on us from time to time. And that's what the barbershop is really about. It's about the community. It's about all the fun, all the laughs, all the you talk about everything in the barbershop, sports, current events, everything that's going on. And that's what we bring to the table.
That's exactly what we're going to bring to the table. And tonight, again, it's been a special week. We've had a long week. True, I haven't really seen you that much since last Wednesday. We've been really busy out and running around in the streets in different parts of not just the city but the world, man. You spent last weekend in Nevada.
In Nevada?
Oh, you don't want to tell the story where you was at?
He
was in Las Vegas, and I didn't get to go. I'm going to tell it. I didn't get to go, so I'm a little tender about it.
You know, it was a bachelor party, so you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's what they say. I didn't know you was gonna put me on.
No, I'm not gonna put you on street. I just wanted to let our listeners know that we don't get to go to all the same places together like you might think. We hang out on the radio on Wednesdays,
right?
And then sometimes you get to go to Las Vegas. I got to go to Auburn last weekend. I got to spend the weekend in beautiful Auburn, Washington, at Auburn Riverside High School.
Nice. Watching
a bunch of 8th and 9th grade girls play basketball. So that's sports related. We could talk about that in the barbershop. Yeah. Spent my time watching my daughter's AAU basketball team, and it was fun. It wasn't probably quite as fun as Las Vegas, but we had a good time.
Did they get the victories? How many games did they play over the weekend?
Oh, man, they played probably six to 8 games.
Wow.
Yeah, and they won none of them. Nah, they got a couple of them in, and, it's really fun to watch these kids do their thing and, get another angle of sports that most people don't get, to experience. These kids doing their thing. Everybody loves these professional sports. Everybody loves the Seahawks. Right. Everybody loves the Mariners. But I support these kids, and that's part of what we do here in the barbershop.
Me too. You got to start somewhere. I just want to give a shout-out to the Northwest Cougs down in Tacoma. That is my youth sports football organization. First grade through 8th grade, so you got to start early. You got to get them right.
That's right. And again, not just an exciting weekend for you and me. It was an exciting weekend of some other Seattle sports heroes that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about some exciting things. We're going to talk about Ken Griffey Jr. We're going to talk about Michael Jordan. No, you didn't step into a time machine. We're not flashing back to the 1990s where these guys were actually made news this weekend. I'm sure you've all heard about it. We're also at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock. We're going to have sports psychologist Michael Gervais. He works with a lot of the top elite athletes around the country, including the Seahawks and including Pete Carroll, and getting their mind right for playing on these high-level competitive sports. We're going to talk to that guy coming up at 7 o'clock. But in the meantime, like I said, Ken Griffey Jr. back in the news for the greatest reason of all. He was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame this past weekend in Coopersville. Softy got a chance to go out there and see that, and it was a monumental moment, True, not just for Ken Griffey Jr. and his family being inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is absolutely the top level that any player playing any sports ultimately wants to get to. When they're playing Little League, you can't get any higher than the Hall of Fame. And again, it's not just a monumental moment for Griffey and his family, not just the Seattle Mariners, not just Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, but it was a huge moment for baseball, True.
Right.
He was the first Mariner to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, which again is a huge, huge deal. And not only that, he enters the Hall with more votes than anyone in the history of the game, man. And you think about baseball, it has a storied history. You're talking about guys like Babe Ruth, talking about guys like Ty Cobb, Joe DiMaggio, names that stretch history and guys that have done some incredible things in baseball. But the kid, Ken Griffey Jr., got more votes on his first ballot to go into the Hall of Fame. 99% of the people that voted put him in.
99%. That's huge, T. And just to go to what you said, it just wasn't a Seattle thing, a Northwest thing. But personally, I kind of took it as that. Being a kid here in Seattle, seeing all the stuff that Junior did. I played a lot of baseball, of course, as a youth. I stopped playing when I got to high school. But Ken Griffey Jr. was the man. He was what everybody wanted to be. He was who everybody wanted to be. And that's who I kind of patented my game after my game wasn't like that. I couldn't hit home runs. I was a leadoff hitter, so I only could hit the ball on the ground. I was fast enough to get the base. But that's the kind of guy I was. But watching Junior and crying to my mom to get them Ken Griffey Jr. shoes and all that kind of stuff, but I never got them. At the time, I got them when I was an adult. But that's just really what it came down to me. For me, it was pretty personal. It was personal that he played his career here. He did all those great things here, and I was right there to see it as a young man.
I grew up not in this area. I lived down south. I moved here from Texas in 1992, and I've been here ever since. So I got a chance to experience Ken Griffey Jr. from outside of the city, outside of the state. And so I got to see how big of an impact he was as a kid living other places. You know what I mean? And so when I got the opportunity to move to Seattle, it was just amazing that he was here in the same city and being such an icon that he was here in this city, even at that point. When I graduated from high school in 93 and I got a chance to go to the University of Washington, and I would meander around the city streets. And from time to time, you'd see Ken Griffey Jr., and it would just be like, oh, my gosh, that's Ken Griffey Jr. And I think the thing that set him apart for me was the fact that he was the first, in my opinion, the first real hip-hop baseball player. The first of a generation that I could really relate to, because he came out, he had the swagger. He had the backwards hat. He had the gold chain with the pendant, right? And it was just, you see him when he kind of saunter over to the home plate for his at-the-bat, and you could tell, like, he had a little something different about him that was kind of urban, kind of street, kind of hip-hop, even though he wasn't a street kid. Right. His dad was a professional baseball player, so he wasn't a street kid. But he had that swagger about himself that I kind of related to, and I think a lot of other kids that were like me related to him. And so, to me, he was my first real baseball icon hero. And I wasn't a kid that played baseball, but he was just so relatable to me on that aspect.
Right. And I would just piggyback off that. And talking to my wife and her grandma, they said that Ken Griffey Jr. used to live over in Renton. Mm-hmm. So coming around time for for trick-or-treating and stuff like that during Halloween, he would act like he was just one of the guys in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And people could say what they want about Ken Griffey Jr. off the field, but the stuff I've been hearing and the stuff that I've seen, I seen that he was a pretty good dude. So I like what you say that. And I remember some of the haircuts that Ken Griffey Jr. had. I think he had the little shag in the back with the S curl kind of hanging out the back. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? He was chill, so he had a little swag to him.
He did have a lot of swag, true. And but the actual speech that he gave at the ceremony there in Coopersville was moving, and he was moved as well. And I want to give you guys a chance to hear a little bit of it.
From the day I got drafted to my first at bat in the Kingdom to the '95 playoffs, to my first trip back to Seattle as a member of the Reds, and then my return to Seattle in 2009, to my retirement in 2010, Seattle, Washington has been a big part of my life. There are so many things, great things that I could talk about, but we'd be here all day.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I've been saying Coopersville. I'm so silly.
You get it together, baby.
It's Cooperstown.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. But yeah, the speech was so amazing, man. And the thing about Ken Griffey Jr., because the stage was set from him from the very beginning, and which made his career, I think it was fairy tale. It was storybook written. It's almost like it was destined to be. His dad was a professional player. He ended up playing on the team with his dad. True, can you imagine?
That's crazy.
Can you imagine playing a sport, not just with your dad,
right?
But can you imagine playing a sport with your son?
Crazy.
I mean, being first of all, having that ability. I couldn't even imagine right now trying to play a sport with my 4-year-old son, first of all. But second of all, just both of you being on the same team. Can you've been in the locker room before, and when guys start ragging on each other. And I can only imagine baseball players are the same. They rag on each other real tough. So, when they start saying stuff like, man, why don't you get it together, man? No, why don't you get it together? Why don't your daddy start hitting some home runs then? Oh. Can you imagine somebody saying that to you?
Hey, babe, them fighting words, bro.
You got to fight with somebody talking
fighting
about
words
you,
in the locker room. But, yeah, that's crazy to even just to think about. I think it's a stat out there that they're the only combo, I guess, that hit back-to-back home runs together in the same game or something like that. But that's just crazy to even be sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner or sitting down at dinner and talking about playing in the pros on the same team. I pray and I would dream that I would, be able to do that with my son, but he just turned 1, and since I'm retired, that dream is out the window.
That's out the window, man.
Right.
It's just, again, like you said, it's something that you're going to be talking about forever, around family dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmases. It's something that they'll be able to treasure forever, and Ken Griffey actually spoke about playing with his dad.
Looking back, I got to do and say things that have never been said. I got a chance to play with my dad. I got to yell at him and tell him to get a hit. And in baseball, there's certain things of you can call somebody a fossil, graybeard, grandpa, dad, pops. But I got a chance to say it and mean it. We hit back-to-back home runs. We're the first father and son to win MVPs in an All-Star game.
Yeah. Again, it's just a magical. It was storybook written. He played with his dad. Everybody expected him to be this great icon when he stepped. How many guys do you know that get this incredible amount of hype about him in any professional sport, and then they finally get a chance to show up and do it, and it's lackluster? It's kind of anticlimactic. The guys don't live up to all the hype. They kind of, maybe they have 1 or 2 successful years and they fall off. I see that happen a lot of times in a lot of different sports. But Ken Griffey Jr., it didn't go that way. Matter of fact, his first at-bat kind of, it set the tone for his career. And a lot of people knew right off the bat it was going to be something special.
25 years from now, you're going to want to say, I was there when Ken Griffey Jr. made his home debut. So don't forget that on Monday night. There's a drive into the gap in left center field and deep left center field, and Henderson's not going to get to it. It's off the base of the wall, and Griffey to second base in his first major league at bat, a ringing double off the 375 marker, and we have seen that all spring. Welcome to the show, Ken Griffey Jr.
And they're going to grab the ball and put it in the dugout for him after the ball game. Look at this. Had a chance to get out of here right at the base of the 375 mark. What a way to break in. Big smile on Ken's face as he pulled into second base. And that brings goosebumps to me, Dave. I've seen a few openers in my time, but first at bat, this kid's had a lot of weight on his shoulders.
The stage was set, True. Mm-hmm. And that was 2 legends at one time. The legendary Dave Niehaus and then the legendary Ken Griffey Jr.
Crazy. And just speaking to that, when people have so much hype, I know in my time when I was coming up and playing and going through stuff like the Senior Bowl and getting ready to get drafted and stuff like that, it was guys with so much hype and guys who were rated this in the magazine, and of course guys that were rated that, and they were above me. And I know that it fueled my fire to want to play better, so I can only imagine the pressure that's on a guy like Junior when he's coming out, that he has all this hype and he has to live up to it. But, that just shows the type of player that he was, the type of focus that he had, that he was able to make such an impact just out the gate.
Yeah, he made such an incredible impact straight out the gate, and for many years here in Seattle. He got traded, obviously, at the end of his career, spent some time in Chicago, then went to Cincinnati, and ended up finishing here like he should have. But this leads to a question that I asked on our Facebook page, the official Barbershop Facebook page. If you go there, you can join the group and get into all the conversations that we have there. But this led to a very heated debate between everyone in Seattle that's on our group. And I want to ask our listeners this very question too. And you text in your answers as we go along through this. Our text line is 49451. Again, that's 49451. Text us in. This is the question that I posed, True, and I want to ask you all now.
Okay.
Is there a bigger sports icon in Seattle history than Ken Griffey Jr.? Think about it now. Now, I know you wanted to jump in. I know you wanted to jump in quick, but think about it. We've had a lot of great sports heroes here. We've had a lot of guys that have done some incredible things on the football field. We've had guys that have done incredible things on the basketball court. We've even had some other guys that have been great Mariners. Does anybody stack up when it comes to Seattle sports to Ken Griffey Jr.?
Making it tough, T. It's tough. I mean, I guess, do you just go off strictly popularity,
No.
skills, or where exactly?
I'm putting it to you like this. When you think about Seattle, not just Seattle sports, when you think about Seattle,
right.
to me, there are some things that you always put into play. You always think about the Space Needle. Space Needle is Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Legendary, right? You think about Pike's Place Market. Absolutely, Pike's Place Market when you think about Seattle. What else do you think about? In my mind, Ken Griffey Jr. I think those three things personify what Seattle is all about. Seattle sports, you think about it, you can't put your finger on any other athlete that stands out more than Ken Griffey Jr. And it's for a number of reasons, and I'll explain to you why, but I just kind of wanted to get your opinion.
Well, I guess I'm kind of biased, and the only argument that I would say, not that I'm saying that Ken Griffey Jr. is not, you got greats like Sean Kemp and Gary Payton, of course, during their heyday. And when I was here, I was in Tacoma, but, I'm a Northwest guy. Those were my guys. I played baseball for a little bit, but basketball was my thing. I stopped growing, so, I had to stop playing that. And then, of course, playing with a guy like Walter Jones and just seeing the type of domination that he had. It was kind of a quiet domination, I guess, because of the position he played and maybe his type of demeanor. He's not real loud. He's not real flashy. But there's a number of guys you could point to, just like you said. And you forgot one thing about Seattle that everybody talks about, and not that it's a big deal, but it's the rain.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's the rain.
You can't forget the rain.
Yeah, but we don't talk about the rain
Right.
because we're talking about sports. We don't want to play sports.
Right. So can I agree with you and say Junior? Yes. But of course, there's a number of other guys that you can go with, and I'm just biased because I got to watch a guy like Walter Jones on a daily basis.
Walter Jones was absolutely dominant at his position. I think there was not, if you look through the history of people who played that position of tackle in the National Football League, whether it be left tackle or right tackle, I don't think there's anyone who was better. I think he's absolutely a Hall of Fame player. I don't believe, though, in my heart of hearts, that he could be considered as an icon. Now, when I'm talking about icon, there's some things I want to take into consideration, and I'll talk about those here again in a second. But we posed this question to our Facebook group. We got some outlandish answers, and I call them outlandish. I'll just say they're different. We've had people say Gary Payton, which isn't outlandish because you do tend to think of Gary Payton in Seattle.
Right. I agree.
And their heyday. But I think a lot of people can classify Gary Payton as absolutely a Seattle supersonic, but you can also people associate him with Oakland, California, and they also associate him with the Oregon State Beavers. Those are things that I think detract. I think when I think of Ken Griffey Jr., where else do you think of? Do you think of Cincinnati? I don't think you think of Cincinnati.
Nah.
You don't think of where he grew up and played high school. You think of one thing, you think of Seattle. Another thing, I think you think of the impact that he had outside of just baseball and being on the field. He had the shoes that you wore.
Right.
Now
I still want some, matter of fact, but they're hard to find.
That's what I'm saying. They were some dope shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were behind Jordans. Everybody wanted the Griffeys. That's iconic. That goes not just around Seattle, not just around the Northwest, but around the world. I think that makes him iconic. We had some other people say stuff like Edgar Martinez, who played at the same time.
Right.
I don't think Edgar. I mean, he was a great hitter. He was a great slugger. He did a great job for the Seattle Mariners. I believe, he's absolutely a Hall of Fame player. But I don't think that he's on the iconic status as the Kid.
Yeah, I think the Kid, of of course, when you think of people who just have that it, because he had a little bit of everything, you think of certain guys that played certain positions, like Walter Jones, not to take nothing away from him, but he was just a different type of guy, and you get a guy or a person that has that it factor. They're great at sports. They're able to talk to the media. They're able to do this kind of stuff and kind of bring themselves to that superstar status. And I think Griffey just had that it factor too.
He did have the it, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. And again, I want to play devil's advocate here. And some of the people that wrote into our Facebook page, theofficialbarbershop.com, also said the same thing that some people on the text board here are saying, and they're saying Russell Wilson. So I want to ask you, True, in your opinion, is it fair to categorize Russell Wilson in the same category as icon when it comes to looking at what he's done, what he's accomplished, both on the field and off the field, being an international or worldwide icon?
I think so. I think it is fair, even though he's early in his career. I know Ken Griffey Jr. played for 20-something odd years, 22 years or something like that. But Russell is early in his career, but the things he has accomplished and that this team has accomplished has put him to rock star status. He's doing things and going places and doing stuff that you do as a rock star. And some people like to talk about that kind of stuff. They say that he's distracted on the off season and this and that, and now he's married.
To a star.
Yes, he's married to a star, and they talked about all that kind of stuff that was going on. But that's what icons do. That's what people that appear to be bigger in life
they transcend
do. Yeah,
right.
They do a bunch of different stuff. So I would agree, and I would say that Russell Wilson is he's there. And if you want to say he's too early in his career, I would say he's knocking right there on the door. But he's at that place.
Yeah, I think we can agree to disagree on Russell right now. True, I'm not going to go too far into it, but I just don't think he's there yet. I don't think he has the full it factor. I don't think Russell wants to have the it factor so much. I think he's kind of forcing himself into the limelight now just because he's playing the role of quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, a guy that's gone to the Super Bowl a couple times, and I think this is just part of the program. I think if he had his choice, he would rather not do it. I can't see Russell Wilson having his own video game. I can't see Russell Wilson having his own tennis shoe. I can't see Russell Wilson doing any of the outside things necessarily that the kid did and bringing that kind of excitement to kids around the world. And,
are you just saying this to get the text board lit up, or what are you doing?
I'm just saying that's what I believe in my heart of hearts, but that's just my opinion. But, everybody has an opinion, right?
Everybody has an opinion, and I strongly disagree with everything you just said, though.
Yeah, okay. Well,
strongly.
We'll talk about it during this commercial break. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about another icon. An icon from the 80s and 90s. His name is Michael Jordan, and he recently came out this week with some things to say on some issues that we're facing here in America. And we're going to talk about it here on The Barbershop on Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Now back to The Barbershop, powered by Snoqualmie Casino, Seattle's closest casino, and by Talking Rain on Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Welcome back to The Barbershop, right here on Sports Radio 950 KJR. My name is T. Holla. Over there is my man, Marcus Trufant. You might know him as True.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in here holding it down until 8 o'clock tonight, talking about all kinds of cool, fun stuff that's been happening in the world around us lately. I don't know if you paid attention to this very much. I don't know how you could not have. You must have been under a rock if you did not hear about Michael Jordan coming out with kind of an address to the violence and the turmoil that's going on in the world, in American society right now. The entire Black Lives Matter movement, the Blue Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter. Michael Jordan finally came out and said something, which is, it's amazing. For years, I've been kind of, the guy that's been saying Michael Jordan should step up. Michael Jordan should do more. Michael Jordan should say something. He has an incredible platform, and he has not spoken out, to my knowledge or to anyone else's knowledge, about anything in particular that was of social value, of social consciousness. And he took the time this week to come out and say something when it came to the things that have been happening down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the officers being shot in Dallas, Texas, and the young black men that have been, over the past several years, coming under fire, it seems like, at the hands of law enforcement. And Michael Jordan finally came out and said something true. You get a chance to read any of that or hear any of that?
Yeah, I ran into it, and I just want to first just say if you guys want to hit us up on Barbershop Show _ on Twitter, because I think this discussion can get a little heated, and I kind of want to hear what the people think about it. But you know, a lot of people, especially in the black community, are upset that MJ even came out and spoke, almost like it's too little, too late, and you should have did this back when you was winning all these championships and doing all these big things, and you had all these commercials, and he was pretty much he was the most popular man on earth,
right?
Pretty much at one time. So people are saying that he should have just kept his mouth closed. He's trying to boost the sales for his shoes and all that kind of stuff at this time. And personally, I think I disagree with a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what MJ is doing, I think he stepped outside of the box. Could he have done stuff in the past, and should he have? I mean, it's not really up to us to judge. He could have, and that would have been helpful, of course. But for MJ to do what he did now in his donations and speaking up, I think it still carries weight.
Right. Now, I have a lot to say about that. I have a big opinion on that, obviously. Right. But for those that didn't get a chance to hear his address, I'll read you some excerpts from it. And it reads as this: "As a proud American, a father who lost his own dad in a senseless act of violence, and a black man, I have been deeply troubled by the deaths of African Americans at the hands of law enforcement and angered by the cowardly and hateful targeting of killing and of police officers. I grieve with the families who have lost loved ones, as I know their pain all too well. I was raised by parents who taught me to love and respect people regardless of their race or background, so I'm saddened and frustrated by the divisive rhetoric and racial tensions that seem to be getting worse as of late. I know this country is better than that, and I can no longer stay silent." He also went on to say, "We are privileged to live in the world's greatest country, a country that's provided for my family, the greatest of opportunities. The problems we face didn't happen overnight, and they won't be solved tomorrow. But if we work together, we can foster greater understanding, positive change, and create a more peaceful world for ourselves, our children, our families, and communities." And that, to me, I think was well received. I think it was it's about time, Michael Jordan, for one. Again, like I said, I've been a vocal critic of Michael for a long time for not standing up for anything. There's been, since Michael Jordan entered the National Basketball Association and started selling shoes to kids for $150, $200 a piece, since then, and since his retirement, he's had ample opportunity to speak out about a number of things. We've had the Rodney King incidents, the whole entire Los Angeles riots incidents. We've had 9/11. We've had how many school shootings? We've had I don't know how many mass shootings. And I don't know whether it's necessarily his responsibility to be the spokesperson for all that true, but he did have a large platform, and he did have the ear of millions and millions of people, not just here in America, but around the world. And I think to some extent, if you have made your living based on these people's adoration of you and their love of you and supporting your career, I think that you at least owe the people some words, some sort of, listen, if I can convince you, Marcus, if I can convince you to go out there and buy these $200 shoes 20 years after I release them, I should at least be able to convince you that, hey, stop shooting each other, stop killing each other for these shoes, stop, whatever it may be. His voice is one that's been sorely missed. But I will say this, True, I'm glad he said it. I'm not going to degrade him for coming out and saying, I'm not going to say we're not listening to you at this point, Michael Jordan.
So we can agree on that, yes, it's good you came out, MJ, and we appreciate it. My thing is, though, as an athlete, you're still a person. So, you know what I'm saying? Just because you have this platform, that doesn't mean that you're comfortable with doing X, Y, and Z, or you really don't have to do X, Y, and Z. It's not your job. It's not a part of your job description.
But don't you think you have some kind of responsibility to the public?
You have some sort of responsibility. It comes with it, but that does not mean that he has to lead the charge and do all these things that people want him to do. Would it be nice, or would it be great? Would it be helpful? Yes, I agree with that. But that does not mean that he should be stoned because he's not doing it.
Right. I don't think he should be stoned.
Right.
Either, true.
But you get what I'm saying.
I
though.
do.
Yeah.
I do hear
so,
what you're saying.
Yeah, he's coming out now. Maybe he's been touched. Maybe he's fed up with it. Just like many, just like everybody else. There's so much that's going on right now. He's like, I can't take it no more. I can't be neutral. I can't sit back. I'm gonna come out and speak out about it. And people are upset about it. I would think that. I mean, better late than never.
Yeah. And to his credit, True, he did contribute $2 million. He gave $1 million to the International Association of Chiefs of Police, newly established institute for community police relations, and he also gave $1 million to the NAAC Legal Defense Fund. So to his defense, he's not just giving us lip service. He's putting his money where his mouth is, and he's making things happen. And again, I'm sure we can talk more about this later. I'm not going to degrade him or give him the business because he's now saying something, even though he should have, in my opinion, been saying something all this
Should have,
didn't
have to. He didn't have to donate the money either, but he did it, and people saying, what's $2 million to a billionaire? It's still $2 million.
It is. And again, that's why I said I'm not going to degrade him for saying that, for giving his money and for speaking out. And again, if it helps the cause, if it helps our relations, whether that be in the African-American community and the police that are out there, if it helps bridge that gap and helps each other understand each other's plight a little bit more, understand each other's position, each other's platform, where they're coming from, and engage each other on a more respectful level, and not resort to the violence that we've been seeing, I'm all for it. And then again, congratulations, Michael Jordan. Thank you for stepping out. It's the Barbershop here on Sports Radio 950 KGR. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Ray Rice. And why would we talk about Ray Rice? Stick around and you'll find out.
Now back to the Barbershop, powered by Snoqualmie Casino, Seattle's closest casino, and by Talking Rain on Sports Radio 950 KJR.
Welcome back to the Barbershop here on Sports Radio 950 KJR. My name is T. Holla. I'm here with my man Marcus Trufant, a.k.a. True.
Yeah.
And we're here with all of you. Thank you for joining us. We like to get you guys involved in the show as much as possible. So if you'd like to text us, 49451, text us what you want to talk about, anything you disagree with, agree with, hit us up. We want to hear from you. And we also like to get involved in social media quite a bit in the Barbershop. True?
Yes, they can hit us up at barbershopshow_ on Twitter, and we'll go back and forth with you a little bit.
Yeah, we love to go back and forth with y'all. Thank you for tuning in, listening to us this evening. We'll be here with you all the way until 8 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, we're going to talk about this young man, the disgraced Baltimore running back, Ray Rice. I don't know if I want to call him disgraced. I battled back and forth between calling him disgraced. I'll just call him the ostracized running back from Baltimore.
There you go.
Yeah. But he has been set aside. He has not been let back in the National Football League. For those of you that might not remember, Ray Rice was an all-star running back at the time, and he and his wife got into a little altercation in an elevator. I believe where was it? It wasn't Stanky Steve. By the way, we named our producer Steve. We tried to come up with a nickname for us last week, and the listeners chimed in. I think we came up with Stanky Steve. I think
we got it. Yeah, that one kind of caught our attention and just kind of stuck. So I think Stanky Steve's what we're rolling with.
Stanky Steve, thank you, man, thank you. But they got into a fight in an elevator, basically, and he was caught on film. Basically, he knocked her unconscious and drug her out of the elevator. And he has not played a down in the National Football League since then. I believe that was 2013. And they let him go in Baltimore. He hasn't been picked up by any team. He had a suspension. He was suspended from the league. And
he was banned, I think, at one point, right?
Well, they said he's allowed to play in the league now. But he's like tainted goods and no one will touch him. And recently they came out, True, and Ray Rice last week said he would play basically for free. He would take all his salary, that if any team picked him up, he would take his salary and donate it to victims of domestic violence and to that cause. And so my question to you, True, is how do you feel about that situation? And how do you feel about people actually gaining redemption and being allowed to go back and work in their chosen profession?
Well, I think that you have to look at it from a standpoint that, of course, you got to do your time or whatever, and if you're going to be suspended, that is it. And, in some cases, 9 teams out of 10 probably won't give them a chance, and there's teams out there that say they may be able to handle all the backlash that's going to come with it. And I think that's the biggest deal that the teams are going to have to deal with. You're going to have protests. You're going to have all types of stuff that comes along with bringing somebody like Ray Rice to the team, because everybody's seen what he did loud and clear on TV. It's caught on video, so that makes it tough. And, of course, it was terribly wrong, but he's saying – well, he's not saying, but he wants to be forgiven. He wants to be given another chance. And I just think it's tough. It's a tough call just from the standpoint of him missing 2 years and some change, but he's saying that he's in the best shape of his life. He's been training. He's been doing this and doing that. And it's just going to make it real hard. And if I was a GM or an owner of a team and things are going great on my team and I would need a running back, I think
you would take a shot on him. You would put him on your roster, right?
I would look past Ray Rice, just for the standpoint that there's a lot of other guys out there, and as a business, you don't need that kind of baggage. But I see where he's coming from. This is his livelihood. This is what he's been doing since he was a little boy. Should he be banned all his life and be known as this guy who did that? It's going to stay with him. Should he get another chance?
Yeah,
maybe.
This is a stigma, True. This is the scarlet letter A that that's attached to him for the rest of his life, not even just the rest of his career. If he gets an opportunity to have a career, it's just the court of public opinion these days is so strong. With the abundance of social media that's out there, and everyone has an opinion on certain issues, and everyone got a chance to see, how violent he was with his wife. Even though we take into consideration, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, the woman did forgive him. She actually became his wife. She was just his fiancée at the time. So she forgave him. He was actually exonerated in the court of law, if I'm correct, Stanky Steve. He never had any legal repercussions behind this. And
the punishment actually was added to once the video came out. So so he wasn't facing legal stuff, and then even the league stuff wasn't even that big of a deal until the video came out, and then it just blew up because when you actually see that, it just puts it to a whole different level.
It took it to a brand new level for everybody that got a chance to see that. Again, it was very violent. And again, I don't want to condone this by any stretch of the imagination. It's true.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. I got 4 daughters of my own. And
right.
No.
He would have a problem if he put his hands on one of my daughters. But that being said, he's again been ostracized from the National Football League. He was at the top of his career. Like, he was a guy I was putting on my fantasy team back in the day. Now he's getting older. He's 31 years old.
He's only 29, actually.
Well, 29, 30.
Yeah,
Marshawn is retired at
right.
29, 30 years old. So
I thought he was older, too. I was just,
right. But my point is, it's, to me, at the end of the day, this is a sad story on so many accounts, True, because, we had an instance where a woman was beaten. We had an instance where a man has lost his opportunity to make a living for his family and change his family tree forever financially, and he can't do the thing that it is that he loves, and it's all sad. And I kind of hope he does get a chance to do it. It's just going to be tough for somebody. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk to sports psychologist Michael Gervais. He's going to join us, calling in from Los Angeles, California. You don't want to miss this. It's at the Barbershop right here on Sports Radio 950 KJR.